Hi, Maddie and Eli. Daddy here again. Hope you guys are still keeping well. A little bit chilly again today, but I thought I'd pop out to the park quickly and do this vlog before I go home and film the final episode of your comedy show, Kitchen Secrets with Williams. But don't despair. I've already written another 2 comedy shows, and I've already started filming one of them, called Titbits with Williams. But that's got some naughty stuff in it, so it won't be on YouTube as suitable for children. Although, of course, it is for you, as all my stuff is. So, today I thought I'd tell you the hilarious and bonkers story, or rather history, of The Office, the opera. And I shall. But first, of course, I said at the end of my last vlog that I would tell you the story of the naked Carmen if I hadn't already told you in a previous vlog. Well, I did try looking through the previous vlogs last night, but they run to now over 6 hours, and also I didn't want to watch them back because it just reminds me how much I miss you. So I'll tell it again, or for the first time, I don't know, quickly now. For a long time, I'm talking several years, I toured with a production of Carmen called Carmen, which was an all-male production. It was a very gay production. We originally thought that the production had been devised by the director of it as his coming out, but he never did come out in the end. Anyway, that's beside the point. And during those years, I played Don Jose several times. I was a lighting director on some of them. I also music directed some of it, and it went through various incarnations. It started out with a Michaela character who then became a figment of Don Jose's imagination. Anyway, it was a very interesting production, and there's highlights from this on YouTube. But anyway, I loved that production. It was a great show. And also I was probably the only heterosexual guy in the cast. But anyway, yeah, so there is a video on YouTube of the Flower Song, which was actually not from the well, it was from the production, but it was done as a showcase to promote the production. So the actual video is from an evening of highlights rather than the full show. But it was basically what you see in a full show, although we didn't, for that show, we didn't have all the sets and everything else. So yeah, so I did this and it was great fun, and like I said, I loved the show. Anyway, I didn't realise, because I was living, obviously, with your mum and Maddie at the time, and I think you were very young. You were about, you were, I think, about a month old, if that. Yeah, you were extremely young, so it didn't really concern you. But I didn't realise when I was living with your mum and Maddie that they all had Apple devices and they all sync together, and what's viewable on one is viewable on the other, etc. So Maddie's iPod comes up with what I'd uploaded onto YouTube the night before, which was the Flower Song from Carmen. And let's just say this was quite a full-on production. And yeah, so in this production, the Flower Song, if you get to know it when you're older, there's the first kind of big climax goes up to a high A flat, and then the final one goes up to a B flat, which should be pianissimo. But the first one is a very kind of explosive moment in the score. And so the director had directed it that Carmen, the guy who's playing Carmen, kind of had been stripping off during the song, then straddles me and puts his hand down my pants and, does various movements that to the audience make it look like he is, should we say, pleasuring me. He wasn't, obviously. This was on stage, but it looked like it was to the audience. So, yeah, so the guy's naked and straddling me, and I'm dressed as a kind of farmer type guy, because in the original opera he's a soldier, but in this one he's a sort of country bumpkin, and Carmen is this kind of cabaret burlesque dancer. And yeah, so the idea is that on that first A flat big climax, I'm supposed to prematurely ejaculate, and then the guy playing Carmen withdraws his hand and wipes it on my costume. Anyway, so yeah. So sometime the next day after the production, I'd come back late that night because it wasn't in London. Maddie comes up to me and she says, Daddy? I said, oh, yes, darling, what is it? She said, I've just been looking on YouTube. And oh, yeah. She went, yeah. Um, could I ask you about this video? I went, what video is that? She went, this video here. I went, oh, no. What do you want to know about that? She went, well, Daddy, what's he doing to you? Of course, this is the time when you have to be a good dad. You've got to think quickly. You've got to think on your feet. You've got to be, right there in the moment. And I thought, I've got it. I said, Maddie, darling, he's dancing, to explain the movements and all that. And I thought, I've done it. Been a good dad. That's it. Situation diffused. And then she goes, but Daddy, if he's dancing, why is he naked? And there's only one response to that, which is kind of go and play in traffic. Just go and play in traffic, or ask your mum, she's omnipotent. But anyway, yeah, so did I take the video down? No, I left it up there. It's already been pre-disastered. So, yeah. So it's still up there to this day. Yeah, so that's the story of the Naked Carmen. So, The Office, the opera. The Office, it was a little bit before your time, was a smash hit comedy show on the BBC, written by Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant, and starring Ricky Gervais. Although, of course, Stephen Merchant has gone on to star in Hollywood movies, as has Ricky Gervais. And it was, wildly successful. One of the most successful British comedies since, I think, Monty Python. The rights for the show to be remade were sold to something like 27 countries, and the American one is still showing now, and I think it's nearly 15, 20 years later. It was huge. And pretty much everything Ricky Gervais and Merchant have touched since, books, films, whatever, scripts, TV shows, they've all turned to gold. So, yeah, talented guys. So, yes, The Office, the opera began as a comedy sketch, literally just a sketch, 5-6 minutes, for the BBC's Comic Relief, which is a big thing. They, I think, had every year, or might have been every 2 years. I might be confusing it with Children in Need. But anyway, it was for Comic Relief, and as I said, this was before I was involved with the show. And the sketch they filmed, which I'm sure you can find on YouTube, they were doing a couple of scenes from the opera. And the idea was that all the singers looked like their counterparts in the show. And Ricky Gervais comes in on a Segway, which is one of these stupid vehicles that was at the time mooted as being like a revolutionary thing in the way people travelled, but actually ended up being one of the greatest marketing disasters of all time. But that was the joke. He came in on one of these to make himself look pompous and ridiculous, and then said, why is that guy in a fat suit? Is he playing me? Why is he in a fat suit? Anyway, so yeah, so they did that as a sketch. And then Anne Chwelmsky, the composer of it, I think she was still at the time a student at the Guildhall School of Music and Drama, whose alumni include people like Ewan McGregor and Sabrina Terfel and people like that, august institution. She's since gone on to write the music for his hit show Derek and a couple of other things. So that was a very good idea for her career to do it. Yeah, she then decided to develop it from just a comedy sketch into a proper opera. So by the time I got involved, it had become a proper one-act opera. Now, of course, the problem with one-act operas is you can't sell them as just a one-act opera, because theatres they make a lot of money in the interval, selling drinks and whatever else in the bars. So if you do a one-act thing, you're not going to have a second half. But anyway, because of the selling point of The Office, the opera, and the whole Comic Relief thing, it was a viable prospect as just a one-off thing. And it began to develop a bit more and more, and they used pretty much the script that had been written for the comedy show. So yeah, so then I think she approached me when it was a one-actor. She approached me to music direct, first of all. And then the tenor playing Gareth Keenan became unavailable. And to be fair to him, I can't remember his name, but to be fair, she had written quite a hefty tenor part for Gareth Keenan, although in the show he's quite a very, very thin, tall guy, and perhaps the big Verdian tenor part didn't quite suit the body type. I was more the body type, but not incredibly tall and thin, although I'm 6'1". But anyway, so then she said, look, can you sing Gareth Keenan? And I went, well, I'd love to, because obviously I adore singing more than I adore music directing, although, you know, I'm privileged to be able to do both. So then I said, she asked around and she said, look, does anyone know a good MD? And I, of course, know lots of brilliant MDs. So I got in an old Purcell colleague of mine who was an MD at the time in the West End, worked on loads of great shows. And I brought him in. I won't say his name because, yeah, I'm about to tell a few anecdotes. So he came in, and we're kind of working on the show. We're doing rehearsals. I think some of them were in the Guildhall, in fact. And let's just say him and the composer don't exactly see eye to eye. He's talking about, you know, as a music director should, like, this needs to be pizzicato, it'll come out better, this will sound better on clarinet here, and blah, blah, blah. And she's going, look, we've done the show before, we don't need you to do it. Yeah, he says, yeah, but you haven't done it with me, and I'm the MD now, so let me do my bloody job. Anyway, they didn't get on. But anyway, suffice to say, yeah, we did the show, and it toured to Proud Galleries in Camden and Berg House in Hampstead and various other nice venues. It's kind of a minimalist set. I should say I do have the video recording of this, but obviously I'd be certifiably insane to post it live on YouTube because obviously it's not my intellectual copyright. And to go up against Hollywood lawyers is a little bit silly. But anyway, of course, I can show it to you privately. Yeah, so we're in the wings about to go on for, I think it was the Proud Galleries Camden one. And I don't know exactly what happened because I'm just focused on my part, focused on singing it really, really well. I had the famous stapler in jelly scene and, yeah, various other wonderful bits. And I become aware that the composer and the music director are just having a massive, massive Barney in the hall. Go, oh, I can't bloody stand you. Oh, fucking just let me do my bloody job. Just go, God, you're so hard to work with. Anyway, so it was like not a nice atmosphere at all, and we had to go on and do like the broadest comedy you can possibly imagine. But we did, and it went down fabulously. And there was lots of the stars of the actual show who came to see us do it. And there's a little postscript to this, which is that the Evening Standard review of it, and of course reviews don't matter, and if you believe a good review, you have to believe the bad ones as well. Always remember that. But anyway, I was quite pleased because not the Guardian, the Evening Standard review didn't mention any of the singers by name. They just talked about the production, talked about the script, talked about Gervais and Merchant, and all that. But then they said, they had a little lovely paragraph, and it was kind of a bad review. It was all the characters, all the singers, all sang uniformly brilliantly. So we're good there. That's fine. And all looked like their counterparts in the show, with the exception of tenor Ezra Williams as Gareth Keenan, who looked nothing like Mackenzie Crook, the actor who played him. So the irony was that although it was criticising what I looked like, I was the only singer that actually got mentioned by name in the review. So I was quite pleased about that. It was a little bit bonkers. So although it was sort of mildly negative, although they loved the singing, I was the only one who got mentioned. So the other singers were like, you. So yeah, that's a bit bonkers. So more crazy performance stories tomorrow. And Daddy loves you always. Mwah.